In an interview with the Wall Street Journal he gave with Kim Strassel, he said some things in the interview which don't seem to comport with reality. Ladies and gentlemen, I've written 3 books on this. I've had some great sourcing on the whole Spygate affair. And Bill Barr's statements that he could not detect, or Durham hasn't yet detected, any improper activity with the CIA don't seem to make any sense. Here's some coverage in the Washington Examiner by 2 guys who've been all over this Spygate case, Dan Shaitlin and Jerry Dunleavy. Story will be in our show notes, bongino.com/newsletter, if you want to read the show notes there. Bill Barr, quote, Washington Examiner, no sign of improper CIA activity surrounding Trump-Russia investigation launch. Folks, I'm not buying this at all. I'll get to Barr's potential motives for saying this later. It's just, we all understand where we're going with this. Bill Barr, no CIA improper activity during the spying operation on Donald Trump. Folks, that doesn't make any sense. Let's walk through this now step by step. And keep in mind, as I walk through this, I'm going to make the point to you, number one, why I'm not buying the story, that I do believe John Brennan and the CIA were not only involved in the spying operation on Trump, but heavily involved. That'll be point one. Point number 2, what I think is really going on, why Barr is saying this. And point number 3, the London connection and how that may be one of the reasons they're sweeping everything under the rug right now to avoid international embarrassment for certain foreign actors, if you get what I mean. So stick with point number 1 here. There's no improper activity with the CIA and the spying operation on Trump. All the media reports I'm about to give you, by the way, none have been retracted yet. None. Let's go to media report number 1 from The Guardian. It's right here. The story's still out there for anyone to see. If you'd like to see this story at The Guardian, please just put it in the search engine and you can read it right there today. There's no editor's note that says this story's been retracted and is false. The Guardian. It's by Luke Harding back in 2017. British spies were first to spot Trump team's links with Russia. Exclusive. GCHQ, which is the British NSA, is said to have alerted U.S. agencies after becoming aware of contacts in 2015. Alerting agencies? Who? Keep in mind, Barr's telling us, we haven't detected any improper activity with the CIA. We know the Russian collusion story that Trump colluded with the Russians is a total hoax, okay? And Joe, point stipulated, Paula, point stipulated, everybody gets it. We know it's a total hoax. There was never a there. There's no there now. All of it was made up. It was all in a fake dossier called the Steele dossier. It's all fake. None of it was ever real. So if there was never any real Trump colluded with Russia information, then what the hell were the British giving to our intelligence agencies? The answer is fake stuff. Fake stuff. It wasn't real. It was never real. The Mueller report was conclusive. Mueller hated Trump, and at the end concluded, not only was there no evidence of Trump collusion, there was no evidence of any U.S. actor colluding with Russia. None. It's all fake. From the Guardian piece. Again, showing you how Barr's conclusions can't possibly be real about the CIA. It says, quote, the GCHQ first became aware in late 2015 of suspicious interactions between figures connected to Trump and suspected Russian agents, a source close to UK intel said. This is all fake, folks. None of this was real. The intelligence was passed to the U.S. as part of a routine exchange of information, they added. Over the next 6 months, until summer of 2016, a number of Western agencies shared further information on contacts between the Trump's inner circle and Russian sources said. The European countries that passed on electronic intelligence, known as SIGINT, or signal intelligence, included Germany, Estonia, Poland, Australia, and members of the Five Eyes spying alliance that include the US, UK, Canada, and New Zealand. They also relayed material, one source said. So what do we know? We know now, according to this Guardian piece that was pretty well sourced at the time, and I'm telling you is accurate, that these friends of ours, the Five Eyes intelligence sources, the US, the UK, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and others, Estonia and Poland, along with the UK, as I said before, Five Eyes, are all passing information about Trump's contacts with Russians. These are all fake. None of these are illegal contacts. There's nothing illicit here at all. Are passing it on to our people. You get it? Not complicated. Very simple. Overseas foreign intelligence entities are giving information to who? Our intelligence people. Who's our head intelligence agency? The CIA, led by John Brennan. The piece goes on, and it makes even more specific that the British GCHQ, their NSA, actually, the head of it had some meetings with John Brennan. Their piece, not mine. Quote, The Guardian, Luke Harding. According to one account, GCHQ's head, Robert Hannigan, passed material in the summer of 2016 to CIA Chief John Brennan. Not my words, folks. Not Dan Bongino's words. This is the Guard. They've yet to retract this. The matter was deemed so sensitive, it was handled at the director level. After an initially slow start, Brennan used GCHQ information and intelligence from other partners to launch a major interagency investigation. What? I don't get it, Barr. So why is, I don't understand. So Bill Barr saying no improper activity by the CIA. So if that's true, then the information passed from the Five Eyes channels, the UK and others, to our CIA and John Brennan, as stated right there, John Brennan's name. GCHQ gave information to John Brennan, who headed the CIA. Then clearly, this Five Eyes information, this is an official intelligence channel we have with friendlies overseas called the Five Eyes Intelligence Channel. Clearly, there's a record of this, Joe, the information exchange, and there's nothing improper about it. That's what Bill Barr said, right? There was nothing improper about the CIA. They did everything by the book. And by the book means that we have records, which we would, if information was passed, like this this Guardian report says, information was passed from overseas here about Trump to our CIA. Clearly, there's a record of it through the formal Five Eyes intelligence channel. But is there a record of that? Because it was all done properly, right, Joe? Well, let's listen to the great Devin Nunes. He gave this interview a while ago on Maria Bartiromo's show on Fox. And Devin Nunes has been very suspicious about this from the start, because if Barr's right and the CIA did nothing wrong, then clearly there's documentation of these foreign governments who are friends of ours through this documented Five Eyes channel where there's paper and electronic records. Clearly there's a record of them passing this information. So where is it? So this is a little long. It's about 1 minute and 50 seconds. But listen to Devin Nunes hone right in on this and be like, where's the beef, folks? Where's the Five Eyes records? Where is it? What happened? Check this out.
So it took us a long time to actually get this, what's called the electronic communication. As we know it now for your viewers, what that is it's the original intelligence, the original reasons that the counterintelligence investigation was started. Now, this is really important to us because a counterintelligence investigation uses the tools of our intelligence services that are not supposed to be used on American citizens. So we've long wanted to know, well, what intelligence did you have that actually led to this investigation? So what we found now, after the investigators have reviewed it, is that, in fact, there was no intelligence. So we have a traditional partnership with what's called the Five Eyes Agreement. Five Eyes Agreement involves our friends in Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, Canada, and of course us. So long time process and procedures in place where we move intelligence across. We are not supposed to spy on each other's citizens, and it's worked well. And it continues to work well. And we know it's working well because there was no intelligence that passed from Five Eyes through the Five Eyes channels to our government. And that's why we had to see that original communication. So now we're trying to figure out, as you know, we are investigating the State Department. We think there's some major irregularities at the State Department, and we're trying to figure out how it is that this information about Mr. Papadopoulos, of all people, who was supposedly meeting with some folks in London, how that made it over across into the FBI's hands. We know a little bit about that because of what some of the State Department officials themselves have said about that. So we were glad to get this behind us, but now, of course, as we peel another piece back, it leaves more unanswered questions, which we're trying to get to the bottom of.
Joe, you have the Devin Nunes translator for us. Can you please initiate that?
Here we go.
Initiating Nunes translator, Dan.
We haven't used that in forever.
Been a while.
You have to learn, because Devin Nunes is a good and decent man, unlike Eric Swalwell and others who've been compromised. He's not going to give up classified information on television. So you have to translate what he's really telling you. Let me translate this down to a one-sentence bullet point. There was probably a black op going on here. It's always a dramatic term, right? Black ops. It's like the thing you see on TV, black CIA operation, like under the. Yeah. What he's getting at there is there was obviously foreign governments passing fake information about this Trump-Russia collusion hoax to John Brennan at the CIA. It's been reported on. I'll produce more evidence later. We know it happened. It's not a secret. But Nunes is saying it didn't happen. Nunes is saying there's no record of that through formal channels. Was John Brennan conducting kind of an under-the-rug operation by himself to make sure this information made it to the FBI and elsewhere without having it vetted through normal CIA channels? That kind of sounds like what Nunes is saying there. That kind of sounds like it. That we know this happened, but Nunes can't find it. Meaning, did it happen mouth to mouth? And I'm not talking about CPR. I'm talking about, was Brennan the one marshaling this entire operation through an informal kind of black ops channel he had set up with his overseas foreign friendly counterparts to taint Trump and frame him for a fake Russian collusion scandal? Was Brennan doing this, exchanging all this information and not doing it through formal channels? We know it happened. We know there's a formal channel, and we know there's no record of it. Really weird, isn't it? So maybe what Barr is suggesting there is the CIA's formal information channels, they didn't detect any improper activity. Maybe that improper activity was isolated to one person at the top, John Brennan. Because we know it happened. And what better way to launder information, fake information about Trump colluding with the Russians, than to isolate it to one person at the top so no one else sees it and detects that it's all BS, the PP tape and other stuff, right? If you know it's ridiculous, you want to keep it isolated to your major players, right? Because you don't want other people reading it going, this is stupid. So what better way to do it than to keep it isolated to Brennan and then to launder it through the State Department, who gives it to the FBI too. So then Brennan passes it to the FBI. Hey guys, look what I got. Through Harry Reid. How did he do that? Brennan briefed the old Democrat Harry Reid in August of 2016 about information in the dossier, and then Harry Reid wrote a letter to the FBI. Pretty simple. Brennan to Reid. I'm going to tell you this information in the dossier. Wink and a nod. You really should write a letter to the FBI and start investigating Trump. Another great way to do it would be to launder the same information through the State Department, which has almost no investigative capabilities at all. They're mostly bureaucrats loyal to Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton, who was the Secretary of State, right? And then to get the State Department to give it to the FBI too. Oh, wait. That sounds like something Nunes said in the same interview. Here's part two, a shorter clip of the same interview where Nunes says kind of the same thing. Check that out.
We do know that longtime associates of Hillary Clinton, including Sidney Blumenthal and another person named, I think, Corey Scheer, were actively giving information to the State Department that was somehow making its way to the FBI. This is from two people within the State Department who have now publicly come out and said this in, I think, in major news publications. So we know this. We know this was at least two witnesses who have publicly said this. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to piece all that together. We now know that there was no official intelligence that was used to start this investigation. We know that Sidney Blumenthal and others were pushing information into the State Department. So we're trying to piece all of that together, and that's why we continued to look at the State Department.
So we know Christopher Steele, creator of the PP tape dossier, right? The fake information indicating Trump was colluding with the Russians. We know he was meeting with the State Department. I'll get to that later. We know he was meeting with the FBI. I'll get to that later too. And we also know the information he produced made it to John Brennan of the CIA because John Brennan told Harry Reid about it, who was then dumb enough to put it in a letter the dossier information and send it to the FBI. But Bill Barr's found no improper activity on behalf of Brennan? How is that? Or the CIA, I should say. He didn't say Brennan. One more point about this. If the CIA was acting properly, there would be a record of the information they traded with overseas partners who gave us, we would see it. Why don't we see it when we know it happened? Why hasn't CNN retracted this article yet? If there's some formal information channel nobody can find, why did CNN report this? British intelligence passed Trump associates' communications with Russians on to U.S. counterparts. April of 2017, an article we've only used 50, 60 times on the show. Yet to be retracted. Someone's passing information about Trump team contact with Russians, made up nonsense to our intelligence officials. How come there are no records of it anywhere? How come Nunes can't find it? Was Brennan running a black op by himself? Why hasn't Brennan refuted a lot of this reporting? All right, I got to get to my second sponsor, but we're going to exit part one of this. Remember, there's 3 parts to this. Number one, there was clearly a CIA led by Brennan operation, information exchanging with overseas partners. I'm not buying Barr's story at all. There was no improper activity to see it. None. Now we're going to get to what's really going on and the London connection and what I think they're really covering up. Let's